Yeah, here it is. All right, this is great. This is your history video for Monday on November 23rd. You have two work text pages that we're going to be doing. One is on the Shang Dynasty, which was settled. If you look at that first blank there, it's the Huang He, Huang He is the second blank there. And we're going to talk about the religion, what they practiced, the kind of worship that they practiced, how they felt they were punished or helped by their ancestors, something about the ancestors, how they cooked meat and sacrifices, and how they centered on rituals and other things that they did for their religious practices. And then about the tombs and how they buried rulers with the valuables. Sounds familiar. They did this a lot in ancient civilizations. Deep cross-shaped something. And then oracle bones, government, arts, and end of the dynasty, which is right at the end of that reading that we'll be doing today, which are pages 121, 122. Now, as far as page 93, which is the other part of your work today, the study guide there is coming from not just 121 and 122, which is what we're reading today, but also 118 and page 120. And so don't forget to go back there and be able to look for those answers, which you should already have from your worksheets, and then you don't have to worry. All right. Page 121 is what I am going to be reading. By the way, your secret word, I'm not going to tell you yet, because Yuri wants to say it. But I want to make them wait and listen because they're watching me. And they wanted, because I know Nikki, what he will do is he will sit there, and as soon as I get the secret word, he stops listening the whole time. So you freak out, yes. All right, and so if you guys want to look on your religion page and then follow along as I read, then you can fill in some of these blanks here. It says, the rise of the Shang. China was ruled by several dynasties. One of the earliest was the Shang. This dynasty started ruling around 1500 BC. The Shang settled along the Huang He in northern China. Most of the people in the Shang dynasty were farmers. They grew vegetables and grains, especially rice, for food. Floods killed thousands of people and ruined many harvests. And that is actually one of the, if I'm not mistaken, yes, it's on one of your study guide on page 93 about that. The Shang, starting about religion, the Shang were polytheistic, all right? So they practiced the polytheistic worship. That means more than one god. They worshipped a supreme god who was over lesser gods. In addition, the Shang people, particularly the royal family, practiced a religion that involved ancestor worship, all right? And so it says that the Shang believed that the spirits of the departed ancestors lived on in the afterworld. They thought their ancestors had magical powers to punish or help people. And so you see right there, punish or help ancestors, as far as the ancestors' relatives, and so that they would help them. It says that when the weather was good, the Shang believed that their ancestors were pleased. If drought or famine came to the land, the Shang thought that they had angered their ancestors. To please their ancestors, the people used ornate bronze vessels called tings, or dings is how we would pronounce it, to cook meat for a sacrifice. Royal families had special ceremonies for preparing and serving their sacrifices. These sacrifices were offered as food to their ancestors. The Shang religion centered on rituals and superstitions. Besides using dings in ancestor worship, the Shang also used oracle bones. The oracle bones show that the Shang had a system of writing. The king would have a priest write a question on the bone, such as, will the rains flood the land? Then the priest heated the bone with a hot metal rod. The heat caused the bone to crack. These cracks were believed to be the answers from the gods and ancestors. The priest interpreted these cracks, and the king could make decisions based on these answers. Kings consulted oracle bones before making decisions about things such as planting, fighting, and building. The priests were also government officials. They gave a close watch on political and economic affairs. Many interpretations of oracle bones were based on current events. Because the king and the people believed the priest could interpret the oracle bones, the priest had great power in the Shang dynasty. And I wonder what happened to a priest if he was wrong several times. He would probably make an excuse as to why that was. But let's look at the top there where it says ancestor worship before we go on to arts. It says the Chinese believed ancestors had power to influence the affairs of the living. Many Chinese still believe that descendants must perform rites to give ancestors the proper afterlife. This duty hinders many Chinese from turning to Christ. They know that if a person becomes a Christian, he should no longer offer sacrifices to ancestors. He might feel that he is not honoring the family. The Bible teaches that children should honor parents. However, Luke 14:26 teaches that honoring parents must not be placed above honoring God, nor should people give others credit for what only God can do. Only God controls all things, and the ancestors do not control anything. They are dead, so they can't control anything. So arts says the ancient Chinese were skilled artisans. One of their skills was metalworking. Their special techniques in making bronze have not been equaled, even today. The Chinese kept their metalworking knowledge from other countries for centuries. The making of bronze required mining copper, tin, and lead from different regions of China and transporting the three minerals to one location. The Shang used bronze to make ornaments, statues, and vessels such as dings. They developed a difficult process of bronze casting that no other ancient people used. First, metalworkers made a mold in the shape of the object to be cast. The mold was made of several pieces of clay that fit tightly together. The detailed designs of the object were carved into the clay. After the mold was made, the metalworkers poured the molten bronze into the mold. When the bronze had cooled and hardened, the mold was carefully removed and saved for reuse. Once polished, the bronze object was ready to be used. Although the Shang are best known for their works of bronze, they made advances in other arts as well. Farmers produced silk, which weavers made into colorful clothes. Artisans made vases and dishes from fine white clay. The Shang also carved statues from a green stone called jade. Royal palaces and walled cities were part of the Shang heritage in architecture. The ruler's palace was at the center of the capital city. The houses of the artisans surround the palace. These houses were rectangular and built on flat earthen platforms. Shang tombs. Toward the end of their rule, the Shang moved their capital near the present-day city of Anyang. Much of what is known about the Shang dynasty comes from the tombs there. The Shang buried valuables and pottery with their rulers. Bronze cups, chariots, and oracle bones have been found in the tombs. The Shang bury their dead in deep cross-shaped pits. That was one of those blanks that you saw there. Each pit was covered with a wooden roof. Slanted ramps leading from the center of each grave allowed the body and burial offerings to be carried to the bottom. Some tombs contain the remains of human and animal sacrifices. Government. The government was a monarchy. The king was assisted by officials with certain powers and duties. The officials were usually related to the king. Archaeologists have found evidence that Shang was the capital city of the royal family line. This ancestral capital remained in the same location throughout the dynasty. The Shang kept family tablets, temples, and ceremonial dress there. The king himself lived in and ruled from a political capital. The political capital was moved many times during the dynasty. These moves may have been due to struggles among nobility. Artifacts and information on oracle bones suggest that Shang kings were at war with enemy forces. Sometimes the king sent out armies of 13,000 soldiers to fight for the empire. The Shang kings developed a form of government that lasted about 500 years. The Shang dynasty weakened and came to an end at around 1000 BC. This sequence of events became a pattern throughout Chinese history. Each dynasty prospered for a period, then it declined and was overthrown. All right, so for our secret word for today, we're going to have Yuri. All right, so here he is.
The secret word is metal workers.
All right, so there you go. Metal secret word. All right, have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye.